Thank you for that warm and generous welcome. Thank you, Cody. And you haven't even heard me sing. Yet. Yes, I am Italian, 100% Italian, half Sicilian, half Northern Italian, and I promise I won't take that long because I've contracted to make a hit later in President Glassman, Provost, Vice Presidents, esteemed deans, faculty, and staff members, fellow alumni, students, my handful of dear friends who are so thoughtfully in attendance this evening, and to my fellow distinguished alumni honorees for 2022. What an extraordinary homecoming weekend. The events have been delightful and unexpectedly moving for so very many reasons. Returning to familiar environments, especially ones that have been so beautifully preserved and artfully updated with the added wisdom and far deeper appreciation of time and worldly travels over the past 4 decades since I graduated, has rendered me admittedly emotional and quite nearly speechless. But I just may be able to choke out several minutes of remarks anyway. Well, only since I happen to have jotted them down. When the Director of Alumni Services, Amber May, phoned me in New York City a few months ago to tell me that not only had I been nominated, but also selected as one of Eastern Illinois University's distinguished alumni for this year, I was silent for a few moments, and I asked her if I had misheard what she'd said. Did she mean extinguished alumni? As I mentioned, I did graduate 40 years ago, just 2 years after Burl Ives. He did all right. The disappearance of time is the most startling thing. I don't mean simply that there is suddenly so much less of it, but the very texture of time changes. In the early years of our lives, while we were here at Eastern pursuing our studies, for me, that meant becoming a musician and an actor, and beginning to learn how to be a willing and inspiring teacher of others seeking to study in those disciplines. I was very much aware of the conscientious and brilliantly creative people, professors and colleagues surrounding me. Is that my agent? I was very much aware of the conscientious and brilliantly creative people, professors and colleagues surrounding me and nurturing me and casting me and challenging me and truly caring about my development. Time moved forward and others sort of filled those roles for me, though never quite as completely and rarely as willingly. And constantly, by design, in a go from job to job field such as acting, they slip away. Not all of them, of course, but so many, most of them. The demands to sustain, build a career in the arts are so great, so unforgiving. It is an inevitable fact of life, I think. As people move on and drift off, it is not at all personal that they're merely raising their families and tending to their lives, but it feels very personal. It's an unexpected loss that only time teaches us. But sometimes, when we have more time at hand facing us, we reconnect, we call, we email, we hobble toward one another at benefits and funerals, and it all comes back for some wonderful moments, if we're lucky. Love, and gratitude, and memories. I have been so very lucky, and I would love to alter time, however, in a very real sense, to let go of what we think we have to do right now, and instead just create time, to run to and spend some time with those people who held out their hand, who opened their heart, pulled each of us up. Radical kindness, rebellious generosity. I like those ideas, I really do. Here at Eastern, I learned that our good friends and mentors are a tether to living life, a connection to the past, and a promised path to the future. Excuse me, Chendan. In friendship, I dislike the lack of loyalty and betrayal. I do not get along with those who do not know how to give a compliment, or a word of encouragement, or kindness in what we say to others creates confidence. Kindness in our thinking creates profoundness, and kindness in our giving creates love. Be kind whenever possible, and it is always possible, right, Steve? There is nobility in our compassion, beauty in our empathy, and grace in our forgiveness of others. I have no patience for cynicism or excessive criticism. I no longer spend a single minute on those who lie or want to manipulate. I decided not to coexist anymore with pretense, hypocrisy, dishonesty, cheap praise. Everything has its own beauty, but it's not everyone is able to see it nor appreciate it. My parents, Salvatore and Santina Viviano, second-generation immigrants from Sicily and Northern Italy, respectively, taught me to live as if my time here was crucially limited, but to seek to learn as if I was going to live forever. I continue to try to transform my work to places beyond where I've been before, to ask for growth and understanding of the unfamiliar, to live in the struggle of creating and discovering, to realize and grow the gifts that God has granted me beyond their known potential, and then to share it with those who will listen and identify my path in tandem with their own. That is what Eastern Illinois University gave me in abundance. The goal to personally challenge myself in addition to the hurdles placed in my path by the world, to serve others through opportunities to make a human, soulful connection through song and storytelling and the fertile habits of making day-to-day art anywhere, everywhere, for one or for 1 million. It all truly does matter and accrue and inform and connect us for the better. So please let me know now if you will commit. Can I count on your vote in the upcoming election this year? Sorry, that's from a different speech. Oh, okay, here I am. That's good stuff. Did you get it back there? I don't know about you, but I no longer have much patience for certain things because I've reached a point in my life where I do not want to waste more time with what displeases me or what hurts others. I don't tolerate arrogance. I don't welcome gossip. I hate conflict and comparisons, which is not easy for an actor to hate those things. I believe in a world of opposites but equals that can and should and do coexist. And I try to avoid people with inflexible minds and personalities. If I am an advocate for anything, I'd say it's to keep moving. As far as you can, as much as you can, across the ocean, a river, or simply across the street. Walk in someone else's shoes. Eat their food. It's a win for all of us, really. It is abundantly more clear to me each year that every individual's journey is vastly different. No two career or life paths can possibly be the same. I will continue to make mistakes. May I please be blessed with the continued humility to take ownership of them, learn from them, and have the strength of ego to move on and work not repeat them. I don't mind faltering, coming up short, because we learn little from easy success, and we learn so very much from the reverberations of failure. Just because things haven't gone the way I'd hoped or planned doesn't necessarily mean that they've gone wrong. I wish I had listened better when those far more seasoned than I told me not to sweat the small stuff. I took everything so personally at the beginning of my career, and instead of looking at it as mana, I often let it wound my tender heart. So remind your heart that the immobility cast upon us by the fear of suffering is usually far worse than the suffering itself. Life's richest blessings often come to us in the shape of pains, losses, and disappointments. Whatever it is we're seeking will rarely come in the obvious form we're expecting. So allow for fate. There is a word in Yiddish that means fate or kismet. Beschert is the word. It means meant to be. But it is choice, not chance, that determines our destiny, ultimately, that brought us to Eastern Illinois University. And in truth, that is the beschert in our lives. As William Shakespeare wrote, love sought is good, but given unsought is better. In the spring of my senior year here at Eastern, I was cast as Curly in the classic Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Oklahoma for what would prove to be the last in a long line of shows that I was able to perform while I was here. The role was a great fit, and I just loved inhabiting those iconic songs and telling that sweet story. So one evening late in the second act of a performance, the dark character of Judd comes in uninvited to try and spoil the wedding of Curly and his beautiful new wife, Laura, by asking to congratulate the bride with a kiss. And a fight ensues when Judd pulls a knife on Curly. Now this fight was staged, carefully, very carefully, to look real, but also to be completely safe for Ralph Lord, the other actor who was playing Judd, and for me, Curly, the hero. And the fight, though, ends tragically with Judd falling on his own knife, a prop knife, of course, and mortally wounding himself. A landmark development in the history of musical theater for a main character to be killed off so near to the show's finale. Well, as luck would have it, that evening, Ralph, who just happened to be a black belt in karate, psychology major, was a little, I guess that goes hand in glove, no pun intended. He was a little zealous that evening in throwing his last punch in the fight, which was meant to miss me, so the momentum of his body would take him to the floor, landing him fatally on his own knife. Well, that was what was supposed to happen. But that night, Ralph connected full fist to my nose. It was a deafeningly audible and shattering crack. We both stared at each other in disbelief as my nose began to bleed like a running faucet onto the all-white wedding suit that I was wearing. Yeah. The entire cast and the audience gasped at the unexpectedly realistic and graphic brutality of a university theater production. Wow!
Who directed it?
It looks so real. It was. So poor Ralph, who incidentally sustained a broken knuckle, courtesy of my Italian schnoz, fell on his knife with particular purpose that day, feeling so bad. he hit me and broken my nose in 3 places. Now, if you know the show, sorry, was that a little loud? Did I wake anybody? If you know the show, you also know that the title song follows that scene. And it's Curly who begins the song. So we carried Ralph off, dead Ralph, really wanted to be dead that night. Carried him off to the wing, and Dr. Sullivan was out in the wing and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Can you sing?" Horribly. I walked back on and I attempted, as I sounded like I was underwater, as I swallowed the mouthfuls of blood so I could breathe and sing. Sounded a little bit like this. I would have never gotten a Broadway job that night. The next day, I arrived at the theater to find on my dressing room table, a vase with a beautifully arranged bouquet of a dozen noses. Courtesy of my brilliantly funny and thoughtful and oh so clever friend, Jay Sane. I would like to say a sincere and heartfelt thank you to J. Kevin Doolin, former theater arts professor and chair of the department, who nominated me for this wonderful honor. A heavenly thank you to Dr. June Johnson, Dr. Gerald Sullivan, Dr. E. Glendon Gabbard, who, along with so many other wonderful professors here at Eastern, opened my mind and my soul to the tools and the confidence needed to pursue the career I didn't even know I wanted. Thanks to the many fellow students with whom I was lucky enough to begin to learn our craft, especially from watching their detailed work. Gretchen. And my gratitude to the best friend and confidant and advanced man and Renaissance man of arts and letters anyone could ever hope to know and have in their corner for life, my dear friend who organized and facilitated all things theater in his decades working here at Eastern Illinois University, the marrying Rev himself, Reverend Dr. Jay Sane. And may I again thank Amber May and her team and the Alumni Association for all of the beautifully curated and most enjoyable events throughout this homecoming week celebration. I will never forget receiving this extraordinary honor. None of us will, right? And I will hope to duly represent the university's great legacy. I did want to let you know that you thought you were here just for the Distinguished Alumni Awards this evening. I now want to reveal the real reason why I've called you here tonight. I would like to welcome you to the wonderful world of Amway. Leave your address in the door. I'm only serious. For us, just about another hour or so. For us to feel and share true peace is to always remember that we belong to one another. We are one people, globally and locally, and so much more powerful in our existence when we celebrate our sameness, as we do tonight, rather than magnify our disagreements. I have learned and learned again and again along my professional travels of the world that it is in the deep solitude of my preparations and rehearsals that I have always come in contact with the true core of my gentleness and the ugly wrath of my worst fury. And it is with the acceptance of knowing these extremes, that I can mine the emotions and the physical efforts that can truly entertain and move and edify my brothers and sisters with any love. It was birthed in my soul while I was here at Easter. This divine privilege, this connection of humanity and spirit that I truly never take for granted, and of which I am covetous of more and more and more. It keeps my heart whole and free and open and somehow naive and youthful, ready to break from loss and to wholly revel in the triumphs of my sons, Alessandro John and Joseph Dante, the triumphs of my wife, my beautiful Lizzie, and in the triumphs of all of my colleagues, and in my daily aspirations toward peace in our world. The more I read the papers, the less I comprehend the world and all its capers, and how it all will end. Nothing seems to be lasting, but that isn't our affair. We have something permanent, I mean in this way, we care. Life is such a great adventure, we learn to live it as we go. No one in this world can censure what we do here below. Don't save your kisses, just pass them around. You'll find my reason is logically sound. Who's gonna know that you passed them around 100 years from today? Why crave a penthouse that's fit for a queen? You're nearer heaven on Mother Earth's green. If you had millions, what would they all mean 100 years from today? So laugh, laugh and sing, make love your thing, be happy while you may. There's always one beneath the sun who's bound to make you feel that way. The moon is shining, that's a good sign. Cling to me closer, swear you'll be mine. Remember